especially with my friend and special guest, Khan. Uh, we're here for so many quality reasons. One of them, naturally, is to give you as many valuable takeaways as we can, make us as relevant as possible. And that also is something you can help us with through chat.
Mhm.
We'd love to hear what you're thinking, what you'd like us to be thinking, or what you'd like us to maybe address a question or an issue or an opportunity. So, chat's wide open. I encourage you to use it, even if it's just to say hello, where you're from. You'll get recognition, and this show continues beyond this show. So, with that, the topic is the B2B LinkedIn strategy event. And naturally, that covers a lot, but we're trying to really consolidate around professionals. People are actually active, want to do better, want to do more, and want to collaborate with people who can help each other help each other.
Mhm.
I'll turn it over to Khan. Another thing I want to really share is Khan has just launched his new book. Congratulations to Khan. Kelly's here just in time to give her best wishes to Khan. And I think it's a fascinating book. It's about engagement and, you know, leveraging Khan's experience, background, and more importantly, his vision.
Mhm.
I think is something you should really take a look at. So with that, Khan, we're talking about book publishing. We're talking about LinkedIn live strategy and B2B. So it looks like you're well positioned.
Well, thank you, Don. Good morning to you. Good morning to everybody out there, those that are listening to us live and those that will be following us later on in the day, depending on where you are. Yes, topic is B2B, and the book and the live stream are all parts of how we want to be able to connect B2B and to our audience out there. So I think there is a lot of synergies as we talk about these topics and the power that this medium has for us. In this case, we're talking about real-time communication with our ability to reach out to an audience, with our ability to communicate directly, to reach out and touch people in the moment. The book is much more of a longer term prospect, something that takes a lot of time to kind of come together for the most part. And it takes a lot of time to matriculate and to be able to kind of mature and get that out. Now, I'm hoping that with the help of our audience and with your help, to be able to accelerate that process today and kind of talk a little bit about that acceleration and how we can reach a bigger audience. Sometimes, you know, all of these things that we watch lately with all these efforts to reach space and a lot of the initiatives that people have, you have to break away from gravity in order to be able to get away from that. And sometimes that means generating a really strong start. So
Mm-hmm.
to your point, you've advised me, you've helped me. We're reaching out to our audience today for their help as well to get off to a strong start to the book. Yesterday, we were able to load it for start our pre-sale effort. The book is going to be published on the 27th, so next week, the day of my birthday, and it's my birthday present to everybody out there, hopefully to the audience that needs to hear the message of engagement, the message of how do we truly tap into that potential, to that resource, to that amazing energy that are the people that work for our businesses. So that's a big part of what we're trying to do with the book. And again, the synergies here that exist between working through LinkedIn Live, working through a book, working through newsletters, whatever else it is, Don, that you sponsor and you help people with to be able to reach an audience and to build a community of people that know, like, and trust us and are able to tap into that. And we're able to connect with them and really offer the value that they're looking for from people like you and me.
Well, I think the key word was the very tip of the end, which was value. You know, because in everybody's mind, they think, why or why me? What does it have? What can I get? And what is it worth based on money? More importantly, based on time investment and redirection.
Mhm.
And I think that's a separation between sales and promotion. Is promoting, you're sharing more value. So whether you share value in your insights, whether you share value in your products and services, because the only reason to get to know somebody, that if you do qualify them as being a quality person,
Mhm.
there's an opportunity to do something. And part of it is, what do you got that could really benefit me? What do I got that can benefit you? And sometimes the timing's not 100%. We've got our new Hi Ford. I know you've been waiting in the wings. I know there was a little something, but just be sure that hardly a day goes by without a technological issue or challenge. So, glad you could be here, Ford. Would you like to share a little bit about yourself and just for context? And naturally, the audience is why we're here, so we like to let them lead. But Ford, why don't you share a little bit about who you are, a little bit about what you do, and today's topic is B2B LinkedIn strategy and how that might apply to what you do. Ford, take it away.
Well, thank you so much. You can hear me okay?
Absolutely.
All right. Well, I'm so honored to be a part of this episode. So I'm known as the Business Growth Accelerator. What does that really mean? I run a digital marketing agency, so I help people bridge the gap between their value proposition and their target market. I do that as a Hall of Fame keynote speaker, speaking around the globe for brands and associations to help their members and help their companies accelerate their growth. So, how do you expand your influence? How do you get subscribers? How do you get leads? And how do you get sales? And so business growth. And of course, LinkedIn is a great communication tool for B2B sales. And that's why I'm here.
Well, that's great, and that's why you should be here, because what I'm doing is more strategic pairing to not just bring someone on a show, but bring somebody on a show with someone on a show who they'd love to meet, but would never do it without some support or ability to be a colleague first and see what it is to go back and forth. It just happens Khan, and maybe you can give us some advice, is in the middle of launching his new book, which is about employee engagement. If you got a book, you can share it too. So have you written a book?
Yes, I've got 7 books I've written, and inside the franchising space and in the success space.
Yeah, because I know Harvey Tuck,
Yes.
who is a colleague of ours. They actually started here, and I'm so close with Kelly and him putting together some really cool stuff. So it only gets better. What was the key to launching your books? What did you find over time made the difference?
Well, there are thousands of books published every day, and many authors don't sell over 500 books, sometimes less than 5,000 books. I've published with clients over 300 titles. So as a publisher myself, I've helped other authors, best-selling authors that have sold, 70 million books. So I haven't sold 70 million books, full disclosure, but certainly understand the publishing world. So at the end of the day, you have your core expertise. So for your listeners and viewers, you have your core expertise at the top. A book is just packaging. A keynote's packaging, a breakout's packaging, an online training, a course, a book, an audio book. It's just packaging of your content. And so then you have to ask yourself, who's your ideal client and what method do they want to consume the content? And then you want to match the content to how they want to consume and what the target is. So books by itself, it's a pretty broad question, but it really comes down to, what are you trying to do? What is the purpose of your book? So for example, for my books, I've got one of them is called Accelerate, which is the ultimate guide for franchisees to maximize local marketing and boost sales. And then I've got another one that I use called Superpower, which is the superhero's guide to leadership, business, and life. Now, the reason I have those 2 books is because they're great door openers. So I can send them out to associations and C-level, C-suite clients, build a relationship, add value, and then that allows me to then nurture the relationship. So for me, I use my book for marketing and to add value, of course. And of course, the people in my audiences can then go buy the book because audience members want to take a piece of the speaker away with them. So that's how I'm using my book. But I've got campaigns like Tell me about your book and what you're trying to do with your book.
Thank you. And welcome, Ford. It's good to meet you as much as in person and real time as we can right now. So
Right.
it's a pleasure. I've heard wonderful things looking at your background. I think we are on a similar journey, even if we might be at different points in that journey. So thank you for joining us today. So my book is all about this particular one. Like you, I've written more than one, but this particular one is about employee engagement. And how do we really tap into that? How do we build cultures of commitment and performance, and the influence that leaders have and their role in being able to shape those things? There's a lot being written about engagement from the individual's perspective, but not so much about how do we as leaders help shape and form that environment where people can truly find themselves in there and really express themselves, really bring their whole selves to their work and be able to succeed inside an organization, while at the same time elevating the team and the organization as a whole. So to me, there's a tremendous value to organizations that want to invest in that kind of thing.
All right. So I know you're the host. So
No, please. No, this is important.
Okay. So just a couple questions. What's your business model now? Since I haven't, met you before this episode, are you speaking and training? Do you run a consulting company? Like, what's the goal for the book? I mean, you've got the book, you want to sell the book. Are you just an author, or tell me about your business model?
So very much like you, my business model is very, very specific. I, for the most part, support organizations and help them really be able to have right people in the right place at the right time for the organization to execute their business plans. Their business plans are great, but without the people, they don't mean anything. I come in, I deliver workshops that are tailored to their needs for leadership development, interpersonal skills. I do group and individual coaching at executive level. I do specialized events for strategic planning, for team building, and I help them audit and develop the right people system so every dollar that they spend on their people is a dollar well spent. So I provide a comprehensive solution through a boutique human capital management operation.
Okay. Well, I certainly understand that. Having worked in the speaking and training business for 34 years, I have a lot of speakers, trainers, and experts on that. And what I found is from them and from working in this industry with high level brands and small brands and startups is that, people are the biggest challenge right now. I'm a business growth side. I do speak on leadership, but really they hire me because they want me to bridge the gap and get more business, more clients, more customers, more conversions.
Right.
And so whenever I ask a meeting planner what their top challenges are, obviously, like you just said, culture and in people with the different generations in the marketplace, there's high turnover, there's dissension, they're not intrinsically motivated. The problems, and I've also done a study on employee engagement. So I had a $50,000 study done a year ago to get real statistics around the hiring and firing and what motivates people and what doesn't. So all that being said, what I would ask is, when you're positioned in the marketplace, and this is for the viewers and listeners too, are you positioned as the culture, someone for culture? Because here's why I'm asking the question. I'll phrase it like this. What I found is that the C-level executives are confused between the topics of workplace culture, communication, change, leadership, management, and team building.
Yep.
So all of those things are intertwined. And so, as experts, you and I would say, oh, well, we're an expert in this,
right?
But sometimes the marketplace doesn't think that. So I'm just curious of culture, change, communication, leadership, team building, management. Where do you feel, are you just in employee engagement, or where would you say?
So my expertise, to answer your question, is employee engagement with the ultimate goal of maximizing your talent. How can you get the most out of your investment in your people? As far as C-suite people, my clients, the answer to their question is you have people working for you. You are investing in them, salary, bonuses, training, HR benefits. All of that's a big investment. Your labor costs are one of your biggest items on your P&L. From that perspective,
that's for sure.
Are you getting
I've had 17 different companies. My largest company had 140 employees. And yes, that was 139 more than I wanted.
Correct. So you look at that and firsthand, Ford, that with that being that huge investment, business leaders need to know, am I getting the return on that investment? Am I seeing my human capital really flourish, move my business forward? Are they just a cost or are they a value add? And to me, I turn that cost item into a value add for businesses where they can get the most out of that investment.
So I'm just curious, what about when you hire wrong? I mean, I always say, you want to hire for attitude, train for skills.
Mhm.
So sometimes I'm just asking, again, I'm not the host of this episode, but I'm asking,
You're doing better
do
than
you
me.
feel like sometimes organizations need to let go of 20% of their employees that are causing 80% of their problems, and that sometimes that dog doesn't hunt, and that you can't polish a turd. Sometimes you just have to find better employees or create the culture. And I think it's a two-edged sword. For those of you listening, don't put anything negative in the comments. They have no idea what I'm going to say. So if you love the episode, thank them. If you don't like the episode, go hit me up on LinkedIn and you can complain to me on my LinkedIn channel. But I think that the challenge I've always had is, I hire, but then I've had good employees that I didn't lead effectively. So, and sometimes I've had bad employees that didn't matter what kind of culture I created, they were just the wrong hire.
Right. So let's unpack that for a second, because the 80-20 rule that we normally throw around, that Pareto principle, is very reflective of the numbers and the statistics when it comes to engagement. So first of all, the mantra that I teach and I live by is hire hard, train smart, manage easy. You need to be picky up front. To your point, you need to hire for the attitude and the skills that are harder to train. Once you hire the right person that has the right behavioral profile, the patterns, the attitude, the willingness that you want, then train them, give them the tools and the skills, and then managing that process becomes a lot easier. So from
Makes
that
sense.
perspective, I totally agree with you. Now, the reality is that sometimes when companies are under duress and they have to fill spots, the selection process looks something like this. Yep, you got a pulse, I'm going to hire you because I need to fill a spot. So they get themselves into all sorts of trouble. And the reality is that globally right now, because we have people that are watch us from all over the world, 1 in 5 is truly the number of engaged people on your team. There are 3 others that are just along for the paycheck, and 1 that's actually poking holes in the boat, trying to sink it because they are just so pissed off at everything and they are miserable. And they are the turds, the wrong hires that you brought on, that you were talking about earlier. So from that perspective, the best way to be able to know where to cut is to have a good awareness of your talent. That's where talent management comes in, and having a good understanding about who my top players are, who are the people that are filling spots for me, and who are the people that are doing damage. And when I have a comprehensive strategy, when I can look at that and I'm not doing panic reactions, I'm able to truly go and prune my garden. Because sometimes, guess what? A garden has weeds. And it doesn't always look beautiful. Sometimes you got to weed that garden. But in order to do that, you need to think about it more strategically. Know where your people are, so where you're cutting, but build the culture where you're going to attract the best and brightest. You know, and I know that there are companies out there that are known for their employment brands that people want to work for because the word on the street is they are a great place to work. They have to do much less work and convincing and pay less to attract top talent. The companies that don't have a good culture or don't promote that good culture have a harder time filling those spots.
Well, here,
All
let
right,
me, you guys put
yeah,
together.
because we can get into BB stuff too, Don.
No,
So you're good.
well, that's, but you gave me such a great foundation and launch to where this show can go, which is really using LinkedIn strategy, primarily live streaming.
Mm-hmm.
And my career was owning my own businesses for 37 years, never worked for anybody, and grew some really big organizations. One time I had 72 people under one roof. But that was so many years ago, multiplied by the years ago based on the change today.
Mm-hmm.
And what I find is so many people drag legacy into the future that one would start fresh would be a better idea, and the relationship that used to justify employment has changed. To Con's point, if one person's good, 3 people are there for a paycheck and one person's probably bad, why have any of them? Why not just get into pay for performance, just in time, when needed? Right? And everybody has to prove themselves. It's always the person who has that fixed overhead because I got involved with restructurings and turnarounds and everything like that. And you just keep throwing things at something instead of thinking a better way. Now, what I've seen about live streaming, and I've done 700 and 720 days, 7 days a week. And you know what? When you bring a when you bring a Ford with you every day for an hour of pretty intensive thought and insight, you can't avoid getting the transference, right? You pick up an idea, pick up a thought, you pick up a nuance, and all of a sudden you don't even know where it came from, but it's yours, and and you can build on it. But what I see, and we're talking books. Let's just talk books. How long does it take to write a book? Quite a bit, right? I mean, it depends on what kind of book it is, how serious you want to make it, how, whatever, but it's still an effort. You got to do something, and then you got to do more of something to make what you did worth doing. Right? Promote it, support it, blah, 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 blah. A live stream is a daily chapter every day that's in the now, with the now.
Yep.
And why not consolidate? And today it's an either or and opportunity, not an either or. You take the best of the best and you add the best of what no one's doing. Because in essence, there's an arbitrage situation. Just to take LinkedIn, there's 1 billion registered users. There's 18% who participate in some way, comment, like, read, do something. 1 to 2% create content, and then quality content and then consistent content really takes the number down. But they're still just posting. There's 36,000 newsletters. How many live streams against 1 billion people? And you can pair 29 channels, social media channels, to this broadcast, because it's broadcasting YouTube Live right now. And who else is doing it? And then who else is doing it to the B2B community, to the thought leaders? And then who is strategically bringing people together that by themselves wouldn't have been able to do that? So if you really figure, and I think when it comes down to business, when it comes down to anything, it's time and cost efficiency that's going to justify time, right?
Well,
well, let me just do this. Let me just recognize the audience, because without them, it's just us. Kelly's here every Thursday. We've done 100 shows plus together. Kelly started her own show, The Awesome Journey, with Christy Howard, 1 p.m. Eastern time every Tuesday. Great show, gets better every week, and Kelly gets better too. And then Kelly's part of mine and Con's collaboration group for live streamers. It meets every other Thursday to get down to what can we do synergistically. And knowledge share is amazing. Renad Deb's here from India, always says the same thing every time he shows up. Wonderful to join the session today. Have a new face and a new name. Mina, welcome. Happy birthday. Whoever's birthday it is, happy birthday from us. Carl's here. Carl's just great. He's part of the collaboration group. He does the successful funding event at 10 a.m. Tuesday, an hour before this. Harvey does the franchise show at an hour after this. So we got 4 players in the game, and all these people are running at #1 event right now. Minerva's here, great lady from Canada, was in the government. Great to see you again. Hello, thank you. A lot of Minerva. Boy, you're busy today. Employees know what they're looking for, so the match is important to benefit both parties. Compatibility and time management to function is key. Labor time and training, good conversation. And then we get Beverly. Beverly's here every Tuesday, part of our group, does women's empowerment, over 50 years old, and has some of the most amazing guests with her. And I'm finding so many wonderful women who are in that. And I think what you're seeing strategically is the title matches the person, right? So why not get more aligned and then tell people who the people are and what they're going to be seeing? Transparency and authenticity is huge. Now that we've covered this wonderful audience, Ford, I hope you haven't forgot what you're going to say.
No, I'm good. Okay. So, I would say at the top, and so Con, I went to the website, I see the forthcoming book that you've got coming out. And for those of you listening, if you're not live, you can go to freshbizsolutions.com, which is his site. And let's see, to make sure I'm doing that right. Yep. And bizsolutions.com, and mine's profitrichresults.com. And of course, we're LinkedIn live right now and other places. So you can just go to our LinkedIn profiles and connect with us if you are. So here's the deal. At the beginning of the day, we'll just say Con and I, we have a core expertise at the top. That's our bucket of expertise. That's the problem we solve. That's why people will spend money with us. So in his case, it's employee performance. In my case, it's business growth. In your case, it's you've got this new gift and hobby that you're doing every day. You're going live and you're adding value and you're building a tribe and you're doing that. So you have your core expertise at the top. And then there are a few things that really help you accelerate that growth, right? So you've got your core expertise, you've got a revenue model, you have to be great on the platform, being able to have good cameras and good microphones and being able to be a good guest and answer short answers so I don't take over the show. And then you've got your digital footprint, and that becomes your website, your social media and everything else. And then you've got to take daily action. So when it comes down to B2B marketing, the topic of today and what you're talking about, I'm going to help everybody demystify social media in just a few seconds. So regardless of what level of expertise you have, social media platforms are just databases. That's all they are. They're just a grouping of databases. And what can you have in a database? You can have a profile, and you can search, and you can put content. So whether it's Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, Snapchat, doesn't matter. They're just databases. And each platform has its own unique set of standards and uses. And so for me, I spend time on LinkedIn, I spend time on YouTube, and because those are the most relevant for me. Now, do I have TikTok? Yes, I've got a few TikToks and things that I'm doing for business, but I want to fish where the fish are. So the reason I get on LinkedIn lives like this and have podcasts and episodes is to fish where the fish are and to build social proof. So if someone doesn't know who I am, they can Google my name and they'll say, oh, he was just live on LinkedIn and he's done this and he's done this. So if you look at my LinkedIn feed, I have pinned posts so that way when someone doesn't know who I am, they can immediately focus on the key content. I just got back from the International Franchise Association show in Phoenix and made probably 50 different LinkedIn connections. And the key to remember is that every connection, they see everything for the next 2 weeks. So a lot of the CEOs and the brands that I just connected with on LinkedIn got notified today about me going live. So that's very important that I'm congruent. So if I'm on here talking about something like gardening, well, then they're going to be like, what the heck is this guy doing? Right. So fish where the fish are, regardless of your brand. Certainly going live on LinkedIn is one delivery method. And then you have to ask yourself, what's congruent and how do people want to consume? I think short form content, like even an hour episode is still short form content. It's where you're giving valuable resources to people. And again, hopefully the audience can ask questions or you can field the questions as the host. So I'll pass the mic back to you.
Well, you're really on top of it. And what that allows one is more options. And the challenge is how to scale, how to prioritize, how to not get off track with the next shining object. Or just because you can do it doesn't mean you should do it. And, things change, motivations change, comfort levels change, quality of life issues start to show up when you have options. And what it is where do you get your best return on time? Where do you receive the most value while you're trying to give value, while you're receiving value? Con, can you speak to that?
Yeah, and I'll take the baton from you and from Ford as well, because there's an element of there that was brought up, and I love the and you take it up from there and you say, okay, right now we're trying to create a consistency. we're trying to reach an audience. If we are B2B, we are service providers. We solve problems for our customers. To Ford's point, they're not going to approach us just because they like us. They're going to approach us and they want to engage with us because they believe that we can provide a solution to the problem. That's why people buy. That's why companies hire people like us. So to Ford's point, we want to make sure that whatever medium we choose, and we need to have probably more than one channel to be able to reach different audiences, is to be consistent. People have the opportunity through the LinkedIn Live, through the book, through the speaking that Ford and I do, through the articles that we might write, through every interaction that we have, to get to know us. And if you are sending inconsistent messages about who you are, what you do, what you believe in, if you are trying to please people in different contexts consistently like that, you are going with the flow and the wind. People can't know you. They can't trust you. To your point, you used the word authenticity, Don. Authenticity is a big part of consistency. And you need to make sure that the message that you're sending to people is that this is who I am. These are my core beliefs. This is how I can support you. This is how I serve and offer value. And once that message is consistently delivered to the audience, wherever they come in contact with you, whether they see you here on the LinkedIn Live, or they pick up your book, or they read an article, or they see a recording of a presentation that you've done, these are all important things. And we need to make sure that we are hitting it consistently.
Well, here's what I see really distilling from what we're talking about is where it can get three people of our experience, of our whatever, collectively on a screen at one time in front of the world, that will only continue to be viewed when this show ends in the real time situation. And I think everybody, because of the dynamic changes, the accelerated changes taking place, should always be in a constant flow of reinvention. Every day you need to get smarter. Every day you need to get better. Every day you need to start pivoting. And, you know, I was in business 37 years. I had to get 7 new business models every 5 years to stay that way. And now it's shrinking between what, you know, it used to be, you could see it coming up the road. You know, and you could prepare for it. Now people are getting blindsided. Now people are getting disenfranchised. And why not get to a platform where your true voice doesn't need a gatekeeper, doesn't need work, doesn't need a filter? And why not get with people who compliment you and make you do better? But here's, I think, one thing that really makes a difference. It's not what people hear, it's what people feel. And there's nothing like real time with real people and real conversation, because they can see you thinking, they can see you responding. They can see, it's like poker, you know, everybody's got tells and they can see them, you know, so you have no choice to be authentic, or you become inauthentic, which is taking away that trust, likability, and knowing. Right. And how many people do you really need to know? And me and Con were talking about this earlier. 1 or 2 people who are significant is more than enough opportunity, that you don't need 40,000 people, but it doesn't hurt, right? And there is something to synergy. There is something to being able to move in all areas. When I created this show, it was 7 days a week, 11 a.m. Eastern time. Why? No thinking, right? You just knew it was going to be here every day, same time, and you pretty much knew the people are going to be here. And, you know, what I always say, some people want people to do something. So I'll say, Ford, hey, there's a speaker coming to town. You really should go to see him. And you say, well, thanks, Don. But what if I said, hey, Ford, I got 2 tickets. I'll pick you up. We'll go to lunch and we'll see a great speaker. What's the chances of that happening? And now you made an event. So I think people don't go to the finish line. You know, they get halfway and they leave it for someone else to pick up and hope it happens. Right. Then really reduce that dissonance or disconnection, and constantly being in communication, because you can't hide on here. Everybody knows if they want to get hold of me, they'll see me tomorrow. or they can get hold of me through so many other ways. So accessibility, you know, I always said, if you got to sell somebody to bring them in, you got to sell somebody to keep them in. And there's too much selling. right? And developing a pull marketing strategy because of the value to what Ford was saying with your content, because of how you make people feel, because no one has more time, but they have time they'd rather invest in something better.
Right.
So you've got to give somebody a really strong opportunity to make a change. And just making a change is a challenge for some people, no matter what the change is.
Yeah.
And I think once you understand the psychology of who you're dealing with and who you want to address, because again, so many people are walking up the right ladder against the wrong wall, and it's just a redirection. So Ford.
Can I ask a
I
question?
know, Con, you had a
Okay.
comment. Go ahead, and then I'll jump
I
in.
have a question for you, because I think it's an amazing opportunity to have you here sitting with us. I think the audience will benefit from your expertise and the vast knowledge that you bring. I mean, you've created your own path, and it's not just a little path. It's a broad highway. It's a 6-lane highway that you've created to reach people and to be able to get your message out there. To me, I'd love to understand your perspective. You speak live at keynotes. You speak live here in situations like this or on podcasts and things like that. Different mediums, but the intent is the same, to reach an audience. What are you finding that's similar in this as an avenue to get your point across to people? And what do you think is different about it?
Well, I have a primary question that I go through, which is how can I add value? And the second part of that is make a profit. So I'm all for giving free content away, but it's value for value. My keynote fees start at 25 grand and go up from that. That's not to be impressive. I've got clients that their keynote fees 125,000. So, when my keynote fee was $500, I thought that was great. So, you elevate up through the speaking ranks. But so why would someone pay or invest 25 grand for a 45 or 90-minute keynote? You've got to be able to make a change. You've got to be able to give them something different. It's not a book report. It's not theory. It's not something they can just Google. And now with ChatGPT and AI and Google's Gemini and Microsoft's Copilot and all the different tools that are out there, why do I need a book? Why would I buy your engagement book if I can just Google, give me 10 ideas on how to engage my team? Now, I'm not saying not to get your book. What I'm saying is what makes you unique is your stories. That's the part that it can't do. So for those of you listening, you still should get a copy of his book, which says coming out in the fall, but you need to get that book out now because I read the description for it and everybody needs your book, Con. So I would say this, that communication is the response that elicits. We all have had significant others or relationships where we broadcasted a message, but it wasn't received. It wasn't the intent by the sender isn't necessarily the perception of the receiver, right? And so communication is the response that elicits. So if I say something or do something and I might think A, but somebody else gets B. So what's really important about these different mediums is it gives a chance for social proof. So for me, being on podcast, writing content, writing books, articles, and interviews, and being on TV and radio and things like that, it helps build social proof. So if someone is interested in investing in me, they can Google my name and then go, oh, he's got over 100 5-star reviews on Google. I've got, this many downloads on my podcast and whatever. Now, unlike some of my colleagues, like I was just on an episode with Steve Spangler, who has over 1 billion views on billion with a B combined on YouTube. He's got his own TV show. A week before, I had John Hewitt from Jackson Hewitt. And before that, I had Peter Cuneo, which was the CEO of Marvel Studios. Now, these guys are all make way more money than I do. They're way bigger platforms than I have. But by association, that elevates my network, just like being on this show with you guys today. So now I've got a new friend, Con, and I hope we connect later. And again, I can have you on my podcast because I've got the people that I speak to could hire you. Now, I don't know what your fees are yet. We can talk about that offline. But, certainly you sound like you really do have this figured out. And I looked at your website. So every organization I speak to needs employee engagement, whether it's a franchise brand, association, or corporation. So you're a small fish swimming in a big pond, and we got to make sure that you're recognizable. So that why should they hire you over my friend Scott Greenberg, who just launched a book called Stop the Shift Show, which is about employee engagement. He just launched it, and he's speaking a lot. He's in my fee range, and he's in a lot of businesses. So I know this is a long road to a tiny house, Don. So what I would say is this: you have to look at your value propositions and you have to make a map. So I'm going to give you a formula, then I'll pass the mic back to you. The formula is make a list of all the messages and all the problems you solve that people will pay to make go away. Whether you work for a company or you are a company owner, what's your value proposition? Number two, who are you trying to reach? So obviously, when we reached out and I had you on my show, I said, okay, let's talk about B2B marketing. Well, that's right up my lane. And certainly, on LinkedIn, how do you use LinkedIn as a communication channel to build relationships, not to sell, but to build a relationship? Because LinkedIn is all about communication. It's not a pump and dump where I might pump content out for YouTube and other platforms. LinkedIn's all about the communication and the relationship. In order for this episode to have more views, everybody watching, please put a comment in this episode so that when the replay is out on the channel, the more comments we have and the more comments on other people's comments that we have, the more exposure this episode is going to get. So it's not just putting out content, it has to be the engagement, right? And so you got to have your value propositions. You got to know who you're sending the message to, and you got to target that message. And more importantly, what's the method? So it's the message, the market, and the method. And it's the combinations of those three things that make something successful. So if you have a product and it's not selling, I guarantee you either have the wrong message, the wrong market, using the wrong method. There's something in that combination that's not right.
Right.
If what you're doing is highly successful, then you've dialed in the right message to the right market. But it's not a one size fits all. And I think that where a lot of business owners, speakers, authors, trainers, and experts make a mistake is they think, okay, this is my message and I'm going to shotgun this out to everybody. But the problem with that is there's different styles. I have a get it done kind of style. I showed up, I had my link, my executive assistant had everything in there. I had the link, I clicked the link and I went, holy crap. I actually said something else. I can't get the link. So I'm panicking. I'm sending emails. I can't get the link because I'm going from one thing to the next thing to the next thing. And so again, apologize for being a few minutes late, but I was here on time. I just didn't get connected as quickly as I wanted to. So again, the takeaway is when you're listening to this, regardless of your role, if you work for an organization, you have to ask yourself, what problems did they hire me to solve? Am I communicating that and reaching those goals? And then am I communicating that? Because, even on my team, I don't mind when my team tells me what they got done for the day. I like it. They might say, well, I don't need the recognition. No, but I do as a leader. I want the validation. What'd you do? Because out of sight, out of mind. So I'll stop there.
Well, you make so many great points, and I think that's the value we all have is it continues. It's not a one-trick pony. Here's what I do,
Correct.
and then I have nothing else. But also, I'm a thinking, changing person. But what I do see, and it's interesting when you talk consistency, because consistency has to flow equally through everything that you touch, right? And because people should expect it. What I've seen about doing all these live streams with so many wonderful people is they take it for granted, which is to say they're not leveraging their best practices. They're not doing enough. And also that's part of where I became now is what I found is if you can stay where you're at and grow it up instead of take where you're at and move it over and then try to grow it up. If you don't have to take people away from where they already are, because if we talk, there's 1 billion people registered on LinkedIn. 82% don't do anything. There's an opportunity to get them in the game, but here's what's interesting. Out of the 82% that don't do any participation, 80% become clients. So even though you don't see them, you don't hear them, they're lurking in the background for whatever reason, they're who you ultimately may be getting benefit from without recognizing. The other thing is the 18% who are doing something, or even the 2%, or the people on the show are influencers. They all have networks. They all communicate with them. They all share with them. Anytime you can put a feather in your hat by saying, hey, you got to check out Ford, right? Well, great. And now it's third-party validation you're working on. And I would say if you're going to play in a game, play it right. And what I learned is best practices, how to promote, how to support, how to understand it's what's in it for them philosophy. You know, we had Bob Berg on here, who's all about go-giving, and he was fantastic and loved the show. And actually, I was just talking, and Kelly knows Major General Greg Abbott, who's got a really strong bestseller out there, the Bipolar General, who's been on the show. Okay, so you're a Bob Berg fan.
Yeah, I know Bob. He's a good friend. He's good.
Yeah, we had another gentleman on, actually with Todd Dewitt. Do you know Todd? He lives right up the road from Bob in Florida. His distinction, and he'd be a good guy to match up with, has 44 courses out there. He retired as a dean of a university at 42, and LinkedIn Learning grabbed him. And for the last 13 years, he just produced, and he's just Con can attest to it. But that's where I also see the benefit, is I can connect people with people they couldn't connect with or don't feel comfortable connecting with.
Right.
And I would just mention to Con, who is there or what is there that could help wherever you are, and let's match you guys up together. And I think that's where you start getting stickiness, is like, hey, I get a lot of value here, value I don't get anywhere else. And I feel good. And it's how you make people feel that last. And again, you have to earn that every time you go to bat with them.
Right.
But now they're thinking about you, right? And anything that really makes you feel good makes people like you feel good also. So it's like, hey, I just ate at a great restaurant. Well, you gotta try it, right? So I think it's all that. And if you can do that, I always found the money follows the activity and the quality. And no matter what you charge, the value is all that's important. And what I found, when you're introducing people to new things, you got to front for them, right? If you know it's right, you got to say, okay, I'll serve it up. I'll give you a taste. I mean, just like you're available for free consultations to a point if it's relevant and aligned. And at another point, you realize I'm the chooser too. So it has to be good for me as well as it's good for you, when it's good for both of us. Because, you know, some people like elevator buttons, right? Some take you up, some take you down, some you carry with you. So it's all those different elements when you do have choice. And you do say, I've been there, done that, but here's what's exciting, right? And it may not be the best financial thing, but at a certain point, where does balance show up? Where's quality of life show up? So I see we have a few comments. Beverly said, well, Omar's here. Omar's a fascinating gentleman, has the Zoom party show. You know, I've counted over 20 people who never appeared on a live stream now have their own shows through here. And that's why I decided on this ticker, host, build, or sponsor a live stream. There's such little separation between the audience and the stage, and from the stage to your show. And I tell everybody, if I was in need, I would start broadcasting at 9 in the morning, take a break for lunch, and come back and broadcast till 5, hire myself for the 8 hours, and not needy, but hey, I just want to share who I am, what I'm into. And, you know, you see somebody running around a track without anybody in the stands long enough, you get curious, you know, because it shows fortitude. It shows, like you say, higher on attitude, you can train the skills, is get the people who get up every day and do something, you know, get with the people who are doing stuff, and they'll help you. The last thing I'll say before turning on the Con, you know, there's a saying, be as if you are and you'll become, right? So if you follow a golfer and do everything they do every day, exactly what they do, you'll become that over time, or you'll be better for it. So Con, this is really an unexpected, fascinating connection we've brought together with Ford. And I'm very impressed with what Ford's bringing to the table, as if Ford wasn't here while we were talking.
I'm here. I was just putting my books back. I'm here.
No,
Come on now.
I wasn't. So, Con, you know, I think this has been, we still have some time, another 10 minutes. Just wonderful how Ford's experience can share and provide you with value, and then continuing value. So I'd be curious, since it is about B2B LinkedIn strategy, how have you evolved in the 2-3 months we've been corresponding and working with towards LinkedIn and live streaming?
The interesting thing about this kind of continued effort, Don, meeting people like Ford, challenging ourselves, it was Todd last week, I think creates an interesting dynamic. It forces you to question how you're approaching your work. It challenges you to think a little bit differently. When you have the privilege of being in rooms with people that are in different points of the journey with you, you can learn different things. I mean, Ford was talking about it, says, okay, you think I'm this, but listen, I was in the room with these people last week and they are further along in their journey. For each of us, we can't sit here and compare side by side and say, okay, I'm here, he's here, or she's there, and feel good or bad about this. To me, we are all running our race. We are all in our lanes. It's just a matter of where are you picking up the baton? Where are you in that process with the race? And so to me, it's fascinating to hear and learn from people that have been there, done that. I mean, when we talk about leadership, you can't lead people where you haven't been.
True.
The whole reason why you are sitting in the middle of this panel right now, Don, is because you've done those 700 episodes. You know what it takes. You do it as seamlessly as you breathe. So for all of us, we are learning different ways of approaching this as another medium, another tool. But to me, this is the opportunity to polish, hopefully, a gem, not a turd, but polishing a skill set that's hopefully going to evolve, a way for me to be able to communicate and reach my audience. And wherever I find them. And this is just another way. I've opened up the door, I've stepped into a room, and I have the opportunity to communicate and share a message. We are doing B2B. That's the whole theme of our discussion today. It's not hobby to business, it's business to business. And from that perspective, we have to be very judicial and also be very protective of our knowledge, of the experience that we've gained. I mean, I found it fascinating. Ford brought up a very interesting point. With the technology that's out there today, it's very easy for people to quickly search online and find answers. Now, are they the right answers? Are they the applicable answers to them? That's a different story, because technology is great at replicating, distributing, sorting, and doing all that stuff. It's not necessarily great at creating from scratch innovative ideas or heartfelt things, or creating ethical choices. That's where you bring the right people around you to be able to do that. If I was a business and I'm going out and I'm searching and I'm looking, I want to hire Ford because I know he's going to get the job done. I know he's going to come in. He's going to transform the audience. We speak because we want to transform. We want to create movement in our audience. And that movement could be emotionally, it could be mentally, it could be in a lot of different ways. We want change. We're trying to make change happen through our communication. We're making change happen right now. Hopefully, we'll reach out to an audience now in the moment and later on. And hopefully that audience will want to engage with us again and again and continue that transformation that we're offering to them. So those are some of the things that I've experienced. To me, it's another platform. It's a great way for me to meet wonderful, amazing, talented people, both on the panels and in the audience, and a way for me to get my message out, to say, hey, this is who I am. This is what I can do for you. Let's work together.
Well, I think one key element that's important is personalization, right? Know who you're working with, know why they want to work with you. Mm-hmm. And again, coming back to time and cost efficiency, in a way, by really narrowing the title of the program to attract those people, and also tell everybody else who's looking for hobbies or just superficial conversation, this probably may not be the best place for you. In a sense, you're starting to group personalize, right? Because again, one-on-one is a little bit more challenging as far as time. But if you can get the group that you want to talk to and the group that you want to associate with, because just having influencers spreading your message has a lot to do with who is the influencer and who is the group they're promoting you to, right? So there's a point where everything isn't everything. It's quality over quantity. It's sustainability that's so important. You don't want to have to go and start it all over tomorrow. And it's all residual benefit that you receive. And we haven't talked about repurposing something like this with AI. You can get 10 quick shorts out of Opus in a few minutes, and now you just got more value. And to Khan's point, you use this as a networking tool. See who's on the sidebar here and making comments. You get some good connections. At least you got something in common to begin with. Reach out to the three of us. And the other thing is, everybody's just human, you know, and having humility and being humble makes a difference. I was just listening to a short by Tony Robbins yesterday. And what he said is, there are two things I'll guarantee. One is everything continues to change and everything will eventually end, you know, and he decided that when it ends, it's really an opportunity for a new beginning. And I think when you know you're only going to be dancing on this stage for so long the way you want to dance and can dance, that sense of urgency starts to kick in, right? I got so much I need to get done, you know, and it means something to me. But you also find no man is an island. And the more you can connect with people, to learn from people, and that repurposes the efforts and the time and the trials and tribulations you went through to achieve that knowledge. And when you can just share it with somebody, what a gift is that? What a payment back. So coming up on 56 minutes, I can't thank you enough, Ford. You have now time to top it off with anything that you've been able to benefit from today. And just want to congratulate you on a stellar first appearance.
Well, thank you. I'm welcome to join any other time you need a guest. I'll make sure I'm there on time. I was there 10 minutes early. I just didn't get connected.
You're very conscientious.
So in using this time effectively, I want to leave a couple quick tips. Number one, B2B marketing look, what is your social footprint? What shows up when someone Googles your name? As specifically as it relates to LinkedIn, go to LinkedIn, take a look at your profile from the customer's perspective, from your ideal client's perspective. Do you have a proper photo? Is the title, is your about section completely filled out? If not, leverage AI. Number two, what kind of content are you posting? And make sure that anything that's evergreen is posted. So for example, my speaker packet is pinned to my LinkedIn profile, and then anything I post shows up below that. So my weekly episode, I go live once a week, not 7 times a week, but I go once a week on live Wednesdays at 11 a.m. Central. And so join me for LinkedIn Live. It's Fortify Live. And then the other thing I would tell you is, if you're interested in the topic of AI, I have a gift. There's nothing to buy. There's nothing I'm selling here. But if you go to profitrichresults.com/AI-training, it's a 60-minute video that'll tell you exactly how to unleash the power of AI, ChatGPT, Copilot, and Gemini in your business, regardless of what role you have. So if you're looking at doing LinkedIn Lives and you're trying to create your show episodes, certainly you'd want to watch that video first. Again, that's profitrichresults.com/AI-training. And that's, again, you can go get that. And if you have any other questions, obviously connect with me on LinkedIn. It's been great to meet Khan and to be part of your show.
Well, it's been an honor, and I can speak for Khan also, to have you with us, because you made us so much better than we would have been without you. And we thought we were pretty good before you showed up. But with that said, I also encourage Khan and Ford to share all these links in the comments of this episode.
I will. I'll go back and share after I'm done. I've got another meeting coming up in about 60 seconds, but I will do, when I'm done, I'll go and I'll repurpose and I'll post a comment.
No, so I'll let you go early. I don't want to see you late. And look forward to reconnecting after this show, Ford, and maybe seeing how we can collaborate even further.
All right. Thanks so much. You guys take it away. Thanks for allowing me to be here. Bye for now.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you, Ford.
Bye-bye.
Well, this was another example of a new guest coming in without any real prior knowledge. I always do send a couple episodes along so someone can get the format. But I think what I'm so impressed and excited by, it was such a great match and complement to what Khan is doing in the timely fashion of maybe connecting with someone who's been there, done that, and can accelerate it. And I think that's the beauty of it, is the hope that that person is available who you would love to talk to, but for whatever reason, don't know they exist. But once you share your insights, and I think Con did an amazing job of projecting what he thinks, how he thinks, why he thinks, and individuals like Ford pick up on that, because they can identify, they can align, and they're always figuring out, hey, 2 heads are better than 1, 3 heads are better than 2, and everything is as it goes, right? If a conversation leads to another one, great. But I think we made a great impression on Ford. Con made a great impression on all of us, and the audience came together. It's almost like a symphony when it really works well. So I'm proud of everybody today, and know that even though you may not see all the progress you're making or the knowledge you're acquiring, it takes a little time, but it also, when it does happen, it sticks, and it gives you a much better foundation going forward. And if the future is brighter, anything right now is tolerable. So with that said, it's 1 o'clock on the dot. So happy to have you again, Con. This is our 3rd time together, I believe. And next week is only going to be a continuation. So come back, see Con again. And a lot of great guests coming up. Have a wonderful weekend. Be safe, and we'll talk again. Thank you, Con.